May 2nd, 2007. This was the last time AC Milan appeared in a Champions League semi-final, where they crushed a Ronaldo-led Man United just before completing their Liverpool revenge tour to win the club's 7th European Cup, the second most in the history of the sport, only behind Real Madrid. But it's been gut-wrenching watching Milan in Europe ever since, with the Rossoneri actually failing to qualify for the Champions League in 8 of their last 15 seasons. But after winning Serie A last year and outclassing Napoli over 2 legs in the quarters this year, it looks like the banter era is finally over. Which is why today we're taking a look at Stefano Pioli's starting 11, and how, despite a turbulent domestic season, AC Milan could still win the Champions League. Welcome back, guys. You're watching the Sideline Starters, and my name is Andy, first team all sideline. Can you guys do me a huge favor and smash the like button so that the YouTube algorithm can pick us up? Once you've done that, let's get started. Now, we all know Milan don't have a Ballon d'Or caliber striker like Karim Benzema, or arguably the greatest natural finisher we've ever seen like Erling Haaland. What they do have, however, is an incredibly effective and talented attacking trio, starting with one of the most exciting wingers in the world, 23-year-old Rafael Leao. Though he's been at the club since 2019, he really announced himself to the world last season, winning the Serie A's Most Valuable Player award after leading Milan to their first Scudetto in over 10 years. The kid has pace, but I'm talking terrifying pace. I'm legitimately watching these games and feel bad for anyone that has to mark him. His 6'2" frame makes him impossible to shrug off the ball too, and we can see all of these traits come together right here, as he runs past the entire Napoli defense and gets himself an assist, which is what he's been so effective at doing in the Champions League this season. Leao might only have 1 goal in the competition, but he makes up for it with 4 assists, a total that leads the team. In an era of football where wingers are pressured to perform like strikers every single season, it's refreshing to see a player perform the traditional roles of a winger instead, focusing on feeding his strikers and taking on defenders 1v1. He's just so good at it, as Leao ranks in the 95th percentile amongst attacking midfielders and wingers for assists per 90, as well as 95th for both attempted and successful take-ons. But a winger can't get all those assists without a decent striker up top, which brings us to Milan's number 9, the highest goal scorer in the history of the French national team, Olivier Giroud. Now listen, I'm not one of those Giroud fanboys that writes revisionist history about his career. He was bang average at Arsenal, and anyone that actually watched him play will attest to that. But that was half a decade ago, and ever since leaving the Gunners, he's honestly taken his game to another level. And not in the sense that he started magically scoring 20 goals a season, but rather he started scoring important goals in important moments and made the most of his limited opportunities, as evident by his consistent role in Didier Deschamps' French squads that won the World Cup. He's seemingly getting better with time and has scored 8 goals in the league this season at the ripe age of 36. But where he's really shined this year has been in Europe, as the 6'4" poacher has scored 5 goals in 10 games while assisting 2 as well. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's a serial winner now and is the definition of a big game player, as he boasts the second most impressive trophy cabinet on the squad, other than Ibrahimovic, who's currently injured unfortunately. And while Leao and Giroud are carrying Milan in the goals department, I have to give a quick shout out to Brahim Diaz, the Rossoneri's only true number 10, who's recently caught fire, especially in the Champions League. On his day, Brahim's ball control, dribbling ability, and eye for a pass are spellbinding, but he simply doesn't show us his best often enough. It comes in spurts and moments. But luckily for Milan, those moments have recently come against Napoli. He was Milan's best player in their 4-0 thrashing of the future champions, and was more than serviceable over their 2 legs in the quarterfinal. It looks like he's getting hot just at the right time, but Milan are counting on much more than just a balanced offense to keep their Champions League dream alive. While Leao and Giroud tend to get all the headlines, the real unsung heroes of the squad are the 2 midfielders Milan deploy in the double pivot of their 4-2-3-1. Italy's very own Sandro Tonali and Algerian international Ismael Benacer. Let's start with Tonali, a player that fans were dubbing the next Andrea Pirlo when he signed for the club in 2020. Now I know both he and Pirlo started their careers at Brescia and are both 5'10" and have nice long hair, but in my opinion that's where the comparison should stop. Their strengths and weaknesses are just completely different. Pirlo was a regista, a deep-lying playmaker who excelled in spraying long balls across the field and dictated tempo of play to compensate for his lack of physical traits. And while Tonali was deployed as a regista as a teenager at Brescia, Tonali was then asked to play as a mezzala, or a midfielder tasked with supporting attacks by carrying the ball forward, while also having enough defensive wherewithal to track back and win the ball. Being a mezzala is a responsibility usually reserved for more mobile midfielders who possess either pace or power, or in Tonali's case both, as well as positional awareness and an insane engine. And Sandro has matured beautifully into the role in the last 3 years, and while his numbers don't jump off the scouting report, his 3,190 minutes in all competitions lead the team, and none of Milan's success would be possible without his work on and off the ball. His midfield partner is a different story, however. Bennacer is a unicorn in disguise and is comfortably one of the most underrated players in all of Europe. Let me explain. Bennacer possesses the press resistance, vision, and passing range of a regista, the dribbling and movement of a mezzala, and the defensive solidity and tackling ability of an outright holding midfielder. And if you don't believe me, just take a look at the numbers. He can spray the ball with the best of them, ranking in the 88th percentile for attempted long passes amongst midfielders per 90, and 86th for completed ones. This is also in addition to being in the 87th percentile for key passes. And for those that don't know, key passes are just passes that lead to a shot. And when you add passes that lead to a shot to dribbles that lead to a shot, you get shot creating actions, a stat that Bennacer ranks in the 90th percentile for. But we're not done. Those dribbles are an enormous part of his game, as he ranks in the 88th percentile for both attempted and successful take-ons per 90. And as impressive as he is with the ball, he's actually most effective when it's time to win it back, as he sits in the 97th percentile for ball recoveries per 90, 90th in total tackles, and 83rd for tackles and interceptions combined. Have I made my point? I know I just threw more numbers at you than a fortune cookie factory during Chinese New Year, but it was super necessary. Milan aren't an offensive powerhouse, so it's important that we emphasize how crucial that double pivot is. But if you noticed, across their 2 legs against Napoli in the quarterfinals, they managed to hold one of the best offenses in all of Europe to just 1 goal in 180 minutes. Which boils down to a young and talented back line, bolstered by a world-class goalkeeper. Let me just say right off the bat, Milan's defense in the Serie A this season has been terrible. But as I'm sure you've pieced together by now, Milan just find a way to turn it around in Europe, and actually have defensive numbers that are comparable to their semi-final counterparts, conceding 2 less goals than Inter and the same number of goals as Real Madrid, while City just sit there and make everyone look bad. While Englishman Fikayo Tomori and young French hybrid Pierre Kalulu have each logged over 3,000 minutes this season, Kalulu suffered a calf injury in March, which saw veteran Simon Kjær take his place in the recent Champions League fixtures. This was the same partnership we were used to seeing last year when they won the league, and the pair still complement each other extremely well, with Tomori's incredible pace and tackling ability on full display against Napoli over 2 legs, and Simon Kjær's 6'3" frame and strength keeping Osimhen relatively quiet, something we've rarely seen from any defender all year. At fullback, Milan will look to rely on 2 incredible defenders that are the complete and total opposite of each other. First up is the glamorous name that I'm sure everyone is aware of at this point, Theo Hernandez. Arguably the best left back in the Serie A, Theo has garnered this reputation due to his dominant offensive characteristics. He's probably the 2nd fastest player on the team behind Leao. He carries the ball forward like a winger and creates a lot of opportunities in the attacking third. And the numbers back us up, as Theo ranks in the 97th percentile for total shots per 90 amongst fullbacks, 92nd in progressive carries, and 88th in shot creating actions. Theo isn't your traditional defender. He's not going to wow you with amazing tackles, and he rarely intercepts the ball. Instead, he bombs forward with the ball at his feet and links up with Leao on the left-hand side, which is where a majority of Milan's attacks stem from thanks to this dangerous duo. Now Milan's right back is a different case entirely. Davide Calabria has been with the Rossoneri since he was 10 years old, and while it's taken some time, he's a mainstay in the team now and serves as the club captain. Calabria is a defensive purist and is absolutely exceptional in the challenge, and you're not going to believe just how efficient this man is in defense. Amongst fullbacks across the top 5 leagues, Calabria ranks in the 99th percentile for both attempted tackles and tackles won, and 96th for interceptions. Yes, you heard that correctly, Calabria Calabria is better at tackling than 99% of fullbacks and has N'Golo Kante levels of interception ability. And we saw these capabilities in the Champions League when he put Kvaratskhelia in his pocket across two legs, who's arguably the most dangerous and difficult player to mark in Napoli's entire 11. In short, Calabria's defensive prowess is what allows Theo to flourish offensively in the first place, and Milan can't be defensively solid without him. And the last player we're discussing today is the man who Milan have missed for more than half the season. We're talking about their world-class goalkeeper, Mike Maignan. The acrobatic Frenchman severely injured his calf muscle back in October and just returned to fitness in February, missing 18 games in that time span. So it's actually no surprise that Milan have conceded so much more this year. 37-year-old veteran Ciprian Tatarusanu has tried his best to fill in, but he's nowhere near Mike's level and has honestly dragged the team down a little bit. But with Maignan back in the starting lineup, Milan's defense might just start looking elite again as they head into the semi-finals. And pulling off a penalty save against Kvaratskhelia in the quarters will definitely help boost his confidence. And confidence is contagious.
He's more than a keeper in a way. Having someone like that behind us obviously gives us a lot of confidence. We can play a higher line, we can be a bit more aggressive, and we can rely on him. So I think that's the key thing.
And like it or not, if Milan want to win the Champions League, they'll have to call upon Magic Mike in big moments. Now before we wrap up, let me just give a quick shout out to two more players before you guys tell me in the comment section, but you forgot so and so. Bosnian Rade Krunic is Milan's third central midfielder, who's recently come to life during the Champions League campaign as Benacer's replacement in the double pivot. Alexis Selmakers is a Belgian right-sided midfielder who's great on the ball and excels defensively, and is tasked with helping Calabria double-team opposition left wingers. Here's what Stefano Pioli's 4-2-3-1 looks like just so we can visualize the entire team together. And there we have it, that's AC Milan's starting 11. A group of players that are just 2 games away from potentially making a Champions League final, as they look to restore the honor of Italy's undisputed European giant. And ironically enough, we'll have to topple another Italian club to get there. And that's all I got for today. Please hit the like button if you like what we do on this channel, and subscribe if you want to see more video essays like these. And if you want to see more Serie A content, click right here. Thanks for watching. Till next time, everyone.